Hi everyone, welcome to Ups and Downs, the show where we take popular movies, we break them down bit by bit by bit, we find all the good bits, we give them an up, and we find all the bad bits and we give them a down. Today we're going to be looking at Dolittle, starring Robert Downey Jr., a movie which has divided a lot of critics into those who think that it's not very good and those who think it is awful. It looks like it's going to lose the studio a lot of money, and we're all left thinking, he's left Marvel for this? Let's take a look into the movie, and let's up those downs. So the movie begins with a cartoon in a very Disney-style fashion without being close enough to Disney to encourage a lawsuit, but it just tells us the basic backstory of Dolittle, where he used to be this brilliant man who would heal animals by talking to them, and he'd work on them, and he's this great doctor of animals, and he's happily married, and oh no, his wife's gone on a ship ride, she's got lost at sea, boat's crashed, she's sadly died, and he becomes a recluse, shut away from everyone, turned his back on the world. Obviously a completely original concept for a kids movie. We've never had a death of a loved one at the beginning of a movie. We've never had a former genius who's gone off to be a recluse, who needs to be rescued by some bright-eyed young child with a fresh outlook on the world. Completely original to this movie. Thumbs up to it for a completely original idea. Down. So we leave the cartoon and find ourselves in the middle of these woods with our other main character, who isn't Robert Downey Jr., a young boy called Stubbins, who I actually had to look up after the movie, because for the whole movie he's pretty much known as the boy, because it's all about Robert Downey Jr., it's all about Dolittle, but this boy has to be here to sort of like nudge him back into the real world. So he's there, he doesn't want to shoot these ducks that his stepdad, I think it is encouraging him to shoot, so he tries to miss on purpose, accidentally hits a squirrel and leaves it struggling for its life. A quite healthy dose of irony that you don't normally find in kids' movies, but it will help them prepare for the real world. He then follows this parrot who's talking to him, telling him to follow her. Fair enough, I would do that in that situation. I've nearly killed a squirrel, let's follow this parrot that's leading me down into somewhere in the woods I've never been before. Wonderful. The parrot then encourages him to sneak into this gated off desolate area, which happens to be Dr. Dolittle's mansion. Again, seems perfectly reasonable. Why wouldn't you follow the talking parrot? He crawls his way underneath the gates and finds himself caught in a trap in Dolittle's garden in a net. Because that seems like the rational thing to do. Anyone who steps onto your property, swoop them up in a net and leave them there, seemingly to die. Very nice, and these are the actions of a guy who we're meant to believe is the hero of this movie. Doesn't quite wash with me. The whole thing's far-fetched and ridiculous already. It is getting a down. But thankfully, due to the power of movie coincidences, a young lady called Lady Rose, who happens to be like a 12, 13-year-old girl, has been sent to speak to Dr. Dolittle on behalf of Queen Victoria, because as you know, the Queen is always sending young children out to do her important work that might save her life. But fair enough, she shows up and gets our young boy who's caught in this net, out of the net, back onto the ground. Fine, okay, let's just move this plot forward. So we've got Dr. Dolittle, who is the recluse. You can tell he's a recluse because he's grown his hair and he's grown a beard. He's got a beard, he's got long hair, which just shows us all that he's clearly been ostracised from the world. Because that is the typical look of the hermit and recluse. Like, you wouldn't know he's been shut off from the world if he was clean shaved with short hair. You have to see the hair and the beard to know that he's not been out of the house for a while. Fine. Down. So, he's there playing chess with this gorilla, but he's not playing normal chess because he can talk to the animals. He's got mice as the pieces, and they're taking great joy in hitting each other over the head when one piece takes the other. And you know what, that is kind of the light-hearted animal fun you want from this movie. It's the first piece of creativity, even though it's kind of an idea that's been done before in Harry Potter, but never mind. It still shows something a bit different happening with the animals, bit of light-hearted fun and creativity. That little bit can get an up. This scene also shows us how Dr. Dolittle talks like the animals whilst he's communicating with them, and he makes the sounds that they make while he's talking to them. What it doesn't actually explain though is when he's talking to the animals, how they're all able to understand each other, since they clearly all make different noises, which really should be like a French person understanding what someone's saying in Chinese, because they're all different species of animal speaking, let's say, different language. How come when Robert Downey Jr. is talking to them, they're all speaking clear English? Doesn't really make great sense. It's never really expanded on. We're meant to just sort of accept it as it is, but I refuse to do that because I'm quite pedantic. It gets a damn. So we then get the long drawn out scene where Robert Downey Jr. is refusing to go and help Queen Victoria when this young girl comes looking for help. No, I'm stuck in the house, I'm not going to go. It goes on for far too long, and then we also get thrown in with this bit where he has to help recover the squirrel that's been shot by this boy, and it's the first time in a movie I've ever seen someone heal a gunshot wound by just rubbing them. I mean, yes, he goes on to do surgery on the squirrel and all that, but that squirrel is on the verge of death. He gives it a little rub, and suddenly it's fine. That's not how it works, and we shouldn't really be teaching children that you can cure a gunshot wound by rubbing it. That's never the answer unless you're a teenage boy. It gets a damn. We then have the surgery scene, which is clearly meant to be some sort of comedic moment, but like most of the movie, the jokes aren't actually landing. And the main joke of this seems to be that every time he asks the duck for surgical equipment, it gives him vegetables. I was in a cinema full of children, no one laughed at it. The first joke was weak, and then when they keep repeating the same thing over and over and over again, for some reason it doesn't get funnier. Down! So, anyway, the story has to move on forward. There's a lot of back and forth, pointless dialogue which no one's really interested in, but in the end he goes off to Queen Victoria. We all knew he was going to go there, it just took its while to get there. So he goes off to Queen Victoria. He's in her bed chambers with a pile of other people. She's there lying still, you know, full face of makeup, but dying because she's lying still and not opening her eyes. That's the way you slowly die in a movie. But he just sort of talks to an octopus who lets him know that she's been poisoned, and by her being poisoned, the dog can sniff out exactly what sort of poison it is. Fine, I mean, they've got to shoehorn the animals in. They've got to find a way of shoehorning them in. This is their way of doing it. Because obviously these animals don't have medical expertise, because only Dr. Dolittle can have the medical expertise. But you know what? Let's have a dog that can sniff out poison. Fine. Lets them know that it's some rare poison which can only be cured by this magical fruit on this island no one's ever been to, no one knows where it is, but they know that it will cure this disease, even though no one's been to the island, no one's ever had the fruit. It's never been tried before, but that's going to work. Fine, let's just get this movie going, let's get the plot rolling. Oh good, he's off on an adventure. Brilliant, reasons are rubbish, down. So, at this point, we still need a bit of tension between Robert Downey Jr. and the boy. So Dolittle decides to leave the boy behind, he can't come on his adventure, but he goes to bed. The animals decide, no, you're not done with this movie, you're coming with us. And there's a bit of a chase scene where he jumps on the boat and then he's suddenly part of the crew and Dolittle accepts him. It's filler. All it is filler. It's about 15 minutes worth. There was nothing interesting in it. Basically, the boy gets taken out of his bedroom, rides a giraffe, jumps on the boat. Done. Down. We're then finally in the waters, sailing towards this island, which no one's ever been to before, but I'm sure we're definitely going in the right direction. When Dolittle's suddenly being chased by this other doctor who's jealous of his work and also seems to be a bit of a fanboy of him, but wishes he could be him. It's not really clear. It's Michael Sheen playing someone called Mudfly. Okay, fine, that's going to be his name. He's chasing after Dolittle. He's on a faster ship because his one's sort of like made of metal and it's got engines and everything, whereas Dolittle's just sailing along in some like wooden bucket. But Dolittle's got a way out of it. He can summon whales by talking to them. Fair enough. He straps the whale to the ship and the whale pulls them faster than the bad guy's ship can go. All in all, it's a fair enough scene. There's a little bit of tension. There's all sorts of stuff where they've got to hold on to the ropes. It's a chance for the boy to show that he's worthwhile by holding onto this rope while Dolittle's in the water. It's just a massive CGI fest. It sort of works though. I did enjoy it. I like the creativity of a whale being used to pull them along. That bit can actually get an up. It's then revealed that the only way they can find this magical island where this fruit is by finding Dr. Dolittle's dead wife's missing journal. Because we just needed a nice little quiet somber note where the main character reflects on losing his dead wife and he feels sad that she's gone. Lovely light-hearted filler for a kids movie. So we enjoy that, and we find that it's on this island, this like weird exotic, I think pirate island, it's not really clear. They've just got to go to this island and steal his dead wife's journal. Fine, it's a plot device, we know that it's been done to spin out the movie time. We'll just go ahead with it, we'll get involved, let's see where it's going. We then find ourselves on the island, where Robert Downey Jr. and the boy have both gone in to steal it. They've left all the animals behind, because why would Dr. Dolittle, who can talk to the animals, need the animals? He's left them behind. He's gone in with the boy. For some reason, Robert Downey Jr. is dressed as a chicken. Yeah, I don't know why either. I've seen the whole movie. I don't know why he's dressed as a chicken there. He just is. He's better than this. Damn. We then find that Robert Downey Jr. can't fit through these metal bars that have been put in just to keep him separate from the boy. So the boy needs to go in and steal the journal. Boy goes in, gets to the journal, gets found, gets captured. It turns out that Robert Downey Jr.'s dead wife is in fact the daughter of the pirate king who runs the island, played by Antonio Banderas. But it took me a while to realise that it is actually Antonio Banderas, because they've made him look like anyone other than Antonio Banderas. But fine, he's captured the boy, Robert Downey Jr. is now chained up and he's going to be fed to a tiger. Because that is the smartest thing to do in that situation. You get the guy who can talk to animals and then leave him on his own to be eaten by an animal that he can talk to, that he already knows, that he has a previous relationship with. Don't you just love the logic of bad guys in movies? Damn. So we now get a scene where Robert Downey Jr. is trying to stay alive whilst this tiger's attacking him while he's chained up, and we get this long contrived bit about how the tiger has mummy issues and he's getting therapy from Dr. Dolittle, and then he decides, you know what, forget all the therapy, we need to get a bit of action back in this, so I'm going to now attack Robert Downey Jr. And we get another 5 or so minutes of the tiger attacking Robert Downey Jr. It goes on for a while. The tension that was built quite well at the beginning is just slowly disappearing at this point. But we need a nice little ex machina to come in and save him. So in flies this gorilla who the whole movie has been going on about how scared he is, how he never gets involved. They really hammer it home on a number of times. Obviously leading up to this moment where he suddenly gets over his fear, because it does happen that easy. Anyone suffering from crippling fear or anxiety, it will be over like that at the drop of the hat. That is movie logic. So the gorilla shows up, fights off the tiger, he's not scared anymore, happy days, they escape. But the second they escape, with the journal, they suddenly find, oh no, that bad guy Mudfly's here, he's going to take the journal from us, and he's going to blow up our ship. You know what, I'm not even going to give it an up or down, it's just happening at this point. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just happening. That's all it is, it's just happening. Bad guy goes off, he's got everything he needs to find the missing island. Robert Downey Jr. gives up. His character just goes, right, that's me, done, I'm going to set up shop. But no, he gets a little pep talk from the animals who've suddenly sorted out all their little plot devices, just little things that you normally find in sitcoms just to flesh out the runtime. The animals all have their own little issues, they've solved them all, happy days, but they don't have a ship. Oh no, wait, the guy who wanted Robert Downey Jr. has now remembered that he was married to his daughter and he's going to give him a ship now. Hooray, we can move forward. Let's just take all the plot devices, all that rubbish, all the coincidences, we'll move forward, we'll get to this island. What? down, 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 because it's just ridiculous. I've given up at this point. I'm literally just waiting for it to end. So they're now suddenly at this island which no one's ever been to before, no one can find, no one knows where it is, and they found it from his dead wife's journal. Now, the thing they said at the start of the movie is his wife died at sea looking for this island that she never reached. So how can they use her journal to find the island that she didn't even find herself? But they just ignore it. The journal's found, they're at the island, they're there. They don't even show the journey to the island. They just appear at the island. Down, down, just down. Now magically they've managed to appear at the island just after Mudfly has appeared and is ready to claim it. So there's a bit of back and forth, bit of talk, which goes nowhere. Mudfly's still going to claim the island for Britain. He's got his British flag. He stamps it down into the ground, and it turns out he's awoken this angry dragon. So there's suddenly a dragon in the movie. Hooray, dragon, wonderful. It starts attacking. I mean, we've seen Game of Thrones. Dragons have been done to death now. They're not this special event anymore. But the dragon's there. It starts killing all the bad guys, henchmen, soldiers, eating them or whatever. It's all done off screen because it's a kids' movie. Like, we can have them die, we just can't watch them die. So the dragon's there, it's either eating or burning the soldiers. I don't know which, I don't care which. But we see that he's sort of like coughing up on them first. So it shows that the dragon's sick. But it's lucky that we have a doctor who can talk to animals. I wonder if that might come in handy. So anyway, Dr. Dolittle goes up to this dragon, tells it he can make it better. And this is the climax of the movie. The climax of the movie, a movie which has been pulling rubbish jokes, quite frankly, out of its backside. The climax of the movie is Robert Downey Jr. pulling things out of a dragon's backside. He's literally just finding chunks of armour and all sorts and just yanking them out of a dragon's backside. That's it. That is the climax of this movie. And it all ends in one giant fart joke where the dragon farts in Robert Downey Jr.'s face, and to be quite frank, I think the entire audience feels like the movie has just farted in its face. Down. They then wrap everything up nice and quickly, as they do in these movies. The Queen gets saved, she's back to normal, she's suddenly completely fine, considering she was on the verge of dying, but she's suddenly completely fine. Yay, the Queen is fine. She's cured, she's healed. The bad guy gets arrested because he's daft enough to carry on walking around with the poison he's used to poison the Queen in his pocket. He's poisoned her like 3-4 weeks ago, and he's still got the poison in his pocket, just to prove that he's guilty. What sort of idiot walks around with the murder weapon weeks after they've committed the murder? And he's in her bedroom. He's in her bedroom with what he's used to try and kill her. That alone is one of the stupidest things in a movie that's full of stupid things. One big, fat, massive down. So the whole thing ends, they wrap it up, the boy is now Dr. Dolittle's apprentice, he's opened up his place again, he's healing animals, happy days, it's done. They've wrapped the whole thing up with a nice little bow. Up, up, and it's only an up because it's over. I'm just pleased that this thing is over. So that is Dolittle, what is proved to be a bit of a commercial failure, and if we're going to be honest, the whole movie is a bit of a failure. It will be forgotten in 2-3 years, if it even makes it 2-3 years being remembered. But Robert Downey Jr. has put his eggs in this basket, and unfortunately those eggs have cracked. Surely doing maybe one more Avengers movie, maybe an Iron Man 4, would have been a better career move than this giant pile of awfulness, just terribleness. It's not a good movie, it feels incredibly short, it feels like a TV show. Most of the movie is filler, the jokes fall flat on the main part, and the characters just aren't that likeable, you don't warm to them. I've got to give this movie an overall score, and it's just got to get an overall down. It didn't engage me, I'm not glad that I saw it, I'm not going to be recommending it to anyone. I just think this movie has gone out and wasted my time and the time of everyone else who has seen it. Okay, so that is Ups and Downs for Dolittle. Please remember to like and subscribe to our channel. We're going to be bringing back some more movie commentaries very soon, and we will also try and do some more of these ups and downs. So please feel free to comment down below any movies you want us to do a commentary for, or any movies you'd like me to do the ups and downs for. Thanks for joining us. Goodbye.